go and repay the favor that was done to you by this rabbi. But down to earth, in the form of a person, any form, any miracle form, you must pay back. That's the favor was so tremendous. When he comes to this place and came down to earth, he met this rabbi, and he said, let me accompany you while you're walking. A whole long discussion, beautiful words of Torah that was said there. Long discussion, an interesting stage of interpretations of what's meant. The word life and death. Beautiful way, it's too long to enter here. Took him to a certain cave, and he said to this rabbi who saved him, buried him, and then he was told, you be, come inside with me to this cave, I want to show you something. He went to the mouth of this cave, he came through with a new place. There he said, you see thousands of people marching. He said it was a strange sight, a very strange type of march. One's going with the heads held high, and one's going with the heads bent very low. He said, this is the Roshas Terachim, the separation of the ways. These people you see are all dead men who are marching. Marching, some going to Geladen, and some going to Chassidut Gehinnom. Do not come with me, we're going to Geladen. We came there, the gates of Geladen, so a voice called out, how does a mortal being dare to come through these gates? This rabbi was alive. He said, I have an order from heaven, that I bring him here to repay him for what he has done for me. So he got to know these gates. Menachem will discuss what he saw inside the gates of the lake. Better be okay. It better be. Now one more halacha, very important halacha that the din says that a person saying Kriyat Shema must be very much aware of the fact he's saying Kriyat Shema. Keep this point in mind. You're not allowed to make a motion to somebody. You want a motion that give you a sitter or to move or anything at all. Open the door, close the door, motion with your hand or with your face, with your eyes, anything. You just move your eyes. First you ask you a question, you move your eyes, yes or no. That's forbidden during Kriyat Shema. Kriyat Shema is so strict, it is practically like Shema Esrei. That's this of course is in the first parsha. William Shemaiah is slightly more lenient there, if necessary. Previously, you can make a motion with your eyes or your head, but no movement of the lips. Compare the motion quickly. Better, of course, that could be avoided, because you must be constantly aware of the fact that the Kavanah you're saying the Kriyat Shema, which is Midas Zercha that I took Kavanah, and this, and this which you see, the hour of the coming of Mashiach. I don't put the Rebbe Chayachah, you see our work, our Rebbe Chabad, we can see here. Over here. We spoke about the three parshas in Kriyat Shema. Three parshas, Yahafta, Vayim Shemaya, and Vayimlet. We said that the Zohar Kodesh says there are actually four. The second parsha, Vayim Shemaya, is divided into two parts. Vayim Shemaya until the sum 10, that's the last word. And Esther, Vayim starts the third parsha. The person must be very careful to see to it that he pauses between each parsha. He must pause between each one. And he should have kavanah for each parsha, what each one stands for. We spoke yesterday, we started a story in serial form of one of the Tanaim, one of the great rabbis of Gemara, who found a corpse, buried him with dignity, honor, spent his own money to provide the necessary funeral. And with his dead body, this person came to the heavenly court. President Shemala said, you cannot come into Gan Eden until you first repay such a great chesed, an act of chesed by this rabbi. So he came down to earth, and he spoke to this rabbi in the form of a human being. He led him into a certain cave. And when inside that cave, he came out into an open space where he saw these armies marching. One side, he said, these armies are all dead people. They just died. One side is going towards Gan Eden, the second is going towards Gehenna. This is the dividing of the ways. And he said, now come with me. that's the part we left to. He took him into the side of Gan Eden. And this time that somebody came there, first he came to the entrance to Gan Eden, so a voice came out and said, what is this human being doing here? How does a human come to this place? So the Neshama, the person said, I was commanded to repay his kindness, and therefore I brought him here to bring his life that he should see what they have here. And they said, fine, temporarily strip him of his body, let him enter as a Neshama. So he passed through the gates of Gan Eden, he took him through, and then he said, he was stood there in awe, amazement, speechless amazement at what he saw. This part of what he saw is described. Someday you'll learn it, someday you'll see it. However, he said, going through, he said to me, he's writing this rabbi is saying, this person, this Neshama said to me, let me show you something else. He took me through, he came to a section of Gan Eden where he saw a chamber that was so awesome in various colors that he stood there hypnotized by its beauty. And he said, what is this special section for? He saw a special type of pillars and color array and whatever else there was. And this Neshama said, this is a special section for those who say the first Pasha of Kriyat Shema with kavuna, having in mind that this is the Shem Membez, 42 words in this section of Kriyat Shema. He said, let's go further. Took the second room, again, different type of beauty, third and the fourth. So these four sections are for those who say the Kriyat Shema properly. First Pasha, Lahafta, with thought in mind. Second Pasha, the Only Mishamah, with 72 words, and there until the word was Samtim. The Hoya until the Samtim is exactly 72 words. Connected the Shem Ayin Beis, Hashem's name, and S, from S until Al Haaretz is exactly 50 words. That's the 50 degrees of wisdom, Bina. Last Pasha, Vaidaber, Tzitzis, is 72 words again. 3 words missing, of course. Here, the Shem Ayin Beis, imagine that. Shem Ayin Beis in the last Pasha with 3 words missing. That's a show of a person who davens the Yechidus cannot get those 3 words. If you daven with the Tzibur, the Chazal repeats Hashem Lekech and Emes, and then you have 3 words complement of the Shem Ayin Beis. You have the total then of 72, plus a total of 248 words for the whole Kriyat Shema. Otherwise, I'm missing 3 words there, missing 3 vital words, 3 vital organs. Every word corresponds to a certain part of the body. These 4 sections, he said, this is the reward, schar and elam haba, for a person who says the Kriyat Shema properly in this respect. So, note how this is a side statement, but still, we have to be very strong at this point. No matter what there are people say, referring to Mistagin, who are opposed to the word Kabbalah. And those people opposed to the word Kabbalah are the most pitiful people in the world, because they already have learning, they have knowledge, they have religion, they have lumdus, and yet, pitifully, they have the opportunity that most other people do not have, and they step on it, they reject it, they crush it. Because it's Kabbalah, they speak about it disdainfully, when in fact, Kabbalah is the highest kedusha of all the Torah itself. Torah divided into 4 sections, this is the highest. A person not to learn Kabbalah is bad enough, but for a person to speak about it in a derogatory form, what can happen there? Note too, that a person learning well, advanced, through Gemara, poskim, Shulchan Aruch, would never get to this information. Would never get to these special sections of Gan Eden. How much is it worth? He's zecher to learn Zohar Kodesh Sefrei Kabbalah. And that alone too, Ashrenu, because the Arizal stressed also. Arizal said that there are many Sfarim. You don't have to go to the Mahabharata to the Goyim. to find books that are forbidden, banned, that are poisonous, books on philosophy, poison a person's emunah. You have many among the Jews themselves, many among the great leaders of the Jews who have written Sforim of this type. You have to beware. It's very dangerous to say to a Jew, Alumni, don't learn this sefer. Don't learn this sefer, they'll say to you, you and your father and your grandfather. And 10 more combined, and all your rabbis couldn't compare to the fingernail of the author of this sefer. The answer is true, but, very true, but. I can't compare, he can't compare, we can't compare. We'll conjugate the word I, you, he, they, he, who, ha. But we have a Rebbe who not only can compare, but who is authorized to say that these authors are not to be learned at all, not to be looked at, because they delve into philosophy which poisons the mind as much and more as the other type of books. And therefore, the Bible says that Baruch Hashem granted us the kindness of giving us these forms of Kedusha, Shulei Choizos, Zohar Kodesh, Arizal, Hashem Kodesh, Talmidim. Baruch Hashem, we have those forms. That is the essence of the Eitz HaChaim. That's the tree of life. Drink from those waters and you'll have life forever. Chaim Mitzrayim. That's the union of the 4 parshas of the Kriyat Shema. And it is to one more halacha that when you say the Kriyat Shema, you have to pronounce the words very carefully. Certain words, especially the dvakim, should be very carefully separated. Whenever you have one word ending with a final mem, the next one beginning with a vowel, with an aleph, you must be very careful to pause in between. There's some tim, s. There you have a favor right there. The person who stops there is saved also from combining these 2 words. Anytime you have a mem and an aleph, because if a mem and an s especially, you would not separate until you have some tim mes. Mes is a dead person, dead body. But it's messy to mess the words of Kriyat Shema Chas v'Sholom when you read every word vitally. Each word is part of the 248 mitzvahs in the Torah, 248 Avim in the Guf. Also certain words specifically, certain special words that need special care. The word Menachem Asher Nishba, Asher Nishba, Hashem Arisechem, Nishba must be pronounced carefully because it has 2 meanings. It should not Chas v'Sholom be meant as the other way. So you pronounce it sharply, Nishba. It means swearing that Hashem swore to give to our forefathers. Also, in the last parsha you have Lamad Tikuney Zohar, and it was a Chatim. You're supposed to be careful to pronounce the Zion, Z, very carefully. You should pronounce like a Z, not like an S. A Zion, not a Samach, a sin, because it becomes, you pronounce the Lord Tikuney as a sin, it is a sin, which is a sin to do. So, also in the Uzachatim, same thing, it will change the meaning of the word. Those are the special 3 that require special pronunciation, and of course, Kavanah throughout, which is double with 2 Kavanah, and the results that come from the crowning of the Kriyat Shema to those who daven the emes, should come close to Hashem, the tzadik emes, and the B'yas Mashiach. We're still in the Kriyat Shema. The preparation of the Kriyat Shema at the posek v'haviyinu is shown the other compass scholars. That's where you take the tzitzis into your hand. Tzitzis are placed in all 4 corners. The 4 tzitzis are placed on the left hand, dafka, between the last 2 fingers of the hand. They're held that way until you get to the parsha of tzitzis. You get to the parsha of tzitzis and you hold on both hands, and you should try to both say the parsha plus look at the tzitzis as much as possible. Looking at them is a special mitzvah. Now, again, the time to kiss the tzitzis, exactly according to the Arizal, the 3 times you say the word tzitzis, that's 3 times. Afterwards you have the isem isai, We're kissing them twice. Now, kissing the tzitzis means you first place the tzitzis on the eyes. You touch the eyes with the tzitzis, then you kiss them. Each time you do that. So you have 3 times for the word tzitzis, twice for the Isa Maisai, and the next time for Achrei Einechem. The Achrei Einechem also, the Arizal brings you should place the tzitzis on the eyes, and the Mefarshei Arizal, they say Kelam to say that this means kiss it also, because the Arizal says place it on the eyes, means to kiss the tzitzis also. And then the last time, Hashem Lekechem Emes. The word Emes, kiss the tzitzis also, so you have a total of 6 times in that parsha. 6 times in the parsha. And of course, again, most important, we repeat this, we stress this. The Zohar Kodesh says that a person is a mi'uvas shloyucha liskain if he davens yechidus, does not hear the 3 words Hashem Lekechem Emes from the Chazan. Because if those 3 words are missing, he does not have either the 72 words of the Parshas Tzitzis, there's only 69, the Shem Ayin Beis Chas Shalom Eschosa, he does not have the Ramach Teva, 248 words of Kriya Shema, he has only Reichman Hey, so that is something which cannot be rectified. The Zohar Kodesh says there are ways, Yochid says, Keil Melech Nermon, or he repeats Hashem Lekechem Emes also, but that's very weak. Din says that the Eva, the Derchik, he says these 3 words in the Malay, the Ramach Tevis. But Shimon Arizal says this does not do the trick. You cannot accomplish it with those 3 words. Only one way, and that is to daven tefillah b'tzibur, because otherwise, that's a showing all the consequences come to play. Therefore, a person who is davening Kriyat Shema, and he is slow, or he's behind the Chazan. The moment the Chazan gets to the 3 words, Hashem Lekechem Emes, whatever he's saying, he must stop immediately, no matter where he's in the middle of a posek. Middle of any posek, anywhere, stop and pay attention to those 3 words and have kavanah that the Chazan waits for him with those 3 words. He doesn't have to be up to the end of the Kriyat Shema. In the middle, wherever he is Yetzi with those 3 words, he will now have Ramach Tevis, 248 words to cover him. Let's start. Of course, one thing before we start the Shemon Esrei, which is the Ikar Tefillah, there are 4 times you have Emes after the Kriyat Shema, and during all this time, as we said, the Talmud Arizal, this is Keneged Elam Habriya, Keneged Elam Habriya, from the Yetzer until Shemon Esrei. This is the 3rd level, Elam Habriya, which is called Elam HaKisei, which therefore requires a person to sit. You stand up at the words Tehillah the Kiruv. That's the part where you stand. From then on, you walk back 3 steps. You stay put till you're ready to say the bracha Baruch Atah Hashem Yisrael Yisrael. You move forward. You say that bracha, and like fire, just as you would watch out for fire. I'm quoting the Arizal now. Just as you would watch out for the fire itself. That's why you must watch out, be careful not to allow any hefsek between the word Yisrael and Hashem Sefosai Tiftach. Baruch Atah Hashem, Go'al, Yisrael Hashem Sefosai Tiftach, together. This is called Go'al Yisrael, Hashem is Tefillah, it's called Geulas HaTefillah. The Go'al, the Tefillah itself, could be in Golos Chas Hashem. That's Pshat Shechita Begelusa, the Shechina. Shchinas, the Chinas Emunah, Tefillah, Shchinas and Golos, Go'al Yisrael, Go'al Yisrael. That's called Smichas, Geula, Tefillah. He's saying Geula Tefillah, and that's why the Gemara says that a person could be zeichet to the greatest zechus of the Hasim Geula Tefillah. Person is a shur of not being heard, he's a shur of an haba. Tesa says this refers to the Vasikin. Person that was Vasikin. Gula Tefillah at the exact moment of the Netzach Hama, that person is a shur of being considered a tzadik. Of course, we would like very much daven Vasikin too. Most of the yeshiva in Yerushalmi, the seder there is only the daven Vasikin, except on Shabbos morning, the Acharon Lovay. us. But if it was possible, we daven Mosikin at least. Baruch Hashem, here we are medactic and daven Mosikin at least those few times a year. With a special dictum put on by Hashem Kodesh, Arizal says that those days must have Mosikin. Now, the Smichas Gula Tefillah, we come to the Tefillah itself. Anybody in a big hurry to get up? The Tefillah itself is Manat Tefillah, as we said, the best time possible. The best man is with the Netzach Hama, which means Tefillah Mosikin. The person did not daven at that moment. The person got up late, he davens later. Now, we have already explained the Zman Kriyat Shema, and again, Zman Kriyat Shema, a person who passes that Zman Kriyat Shema, this we have in the Gemara. Arizal says a person who passes Zman Kriyat Shema also is because there's no way to correct that. You're going to do tshuva to that, the next day you'll correct it, but that day is always lost. Which means very simply that from the moment the person is born, which means the moment he is davening, his mind is born, to the last day of his life, no Jew can ever get up late in the morning. Never can you get up late in the morning. There's no such as sleeping late. Every single day of your life you must get up on time. Not to chas v'shalom lose the Zman Kriyat Shema. It's the Raisa. Secondly, the Zman Tefillah too, the Zman Tefillah which also has a limit. Zman Tefillah is an hour after Zman Kriyat Shema. There are some posek, very, very few, but they say that you're allowed to daven Shachris until 12 o'clock, until noon. 12 o'clock standard time, or in the summertime, 1 o'clock. But people take that as written that it's permissible. However, remember that if they do that, they are saying the Berachos Kriyat Shema past this man, and no matter who they are, what they are, how great they are, how great tzaddikim they are making a mistake. There's no such thing as being permitted l'chatchila to daven at that time. So if you see people walking to shul at 10 o'clock in the morning to start davening, 11 o'clock in the morning, anywhere, whether it's here or whether it's in China, top of the world, these people are making a very sad mistake. There's no way of justifying it unless the world is coming to an end. It's either that or nothing. Normally, no person can come inside and say he's davening properly. Of course, that is still not as bad. The worst thing is a person who davens at home, the yechidus, because that's the end of the posek. The person who cannot be counted among the 10 people of a million, that's a chisona that is immeasurable. Tefillah b'tzibur is above all else. We're going to have that stress next Monday, this in the Navi story. We'll come to that point to see how vital that is. And we stress it constantly. Now, when he gets to Tehillah, walk back 3 steps, and there's no hefsek, of course. Then, under no condition is there permitted a hefsek between the bracha and tefillah for any omein, or baruch or kedusha, anything. That's one place you cannot separate. Ignore yourself, Hashem Zaytevdach. The ikid is that when the person begins, he should know, he should arouse himself to the point of the thought that Hashem is before me. Shivisi Hashem l'negdi summit. I'm standing before Hashem. Dalaf l'yadayimid. Therefore, you say Hashem Zaytevdach. We start with the word Hashem, and we beg Hashem, help me to daven. Help me because this is the greatest display of Bechira. Question, Rav Zohar brings the kasha to Mefoshim. Rav Zohar himself asked Arizal this kasha. He said, since Hashem created the world, and everything is Hatam B'dei Shamayim, no matter what happens, it's all Ashkocha Pratis. A wind, a breeze does not blow unless it's the Ashkocha Pratis of Hashem. A leaf does not fall. A person doesn't stub his toe unless it is decreed from heaven. So if this is all from heaven, except one thing, where Hashem has released this as completely free from the rule of heaven, Kaviyachol, the person himself is free to choose. The most amazing power possible. A person is free to follow the command of Hashem, or Chas v'Shalom to go against the command of Hashem. A little person, the smallest thing, like Gush Ochor, a little piece of nothing, a zero, to be able to go against Hashem, Malach Malchim, Malachim, Baruch Hu, to go against His commands. This is the amazing wonder of the power of Bechira. Complete free choice given to a person. The reason is that therefore a person will be worthy of receiving schar if he chose correctly, or einish punishment if he didn't. There's no excuse then. You can't say you were forced. Hashgacha Pratit went against you. And because of this, since there is this free choice of doing good or bad, Kasha is it's your choice. And what do you mean is followed by Hashem? Hashem, help me. Make me learn Torah. Make me learn. Hashem says you got free. Nobody's stopping you. The choice is yours. Nothing not from heaven. Bring me closer to Tefillah. Hashem says, Hashem, you make my mouth daven. You've got a mouth. You got free choice. This is yours. Accommodation. Everything about it is under the power of heaven. Chutz Yerushalmi. Except Yerushalmi. Fear of Hashem. Tell me up to the person. How can we come to Hashem and say, Hashem, give me health, give me panasa, give me long life? Right. But give me Yerushalmi, Hashem. Give you, it's up to you. Hashem has cut himself off, kaviyachol, from this item. It's not provided in heaven. This is only an earthly product. Rosenfeld answers that what is this bechira? Free choice. Free choice to choose the good or the bad. Now, it is your free choice to come before Hashem and to daven for parnasa. If you want parnasa, you come to Hashem and say, Hashem, b'acheinu, say bracha, say tamamata, give me parnasa. A person who wants the bad, goes out to do work and says, there's your free choice. Either you come to Hashem and say, Hashem, give me parnasa, or he goes out and says, my prowess, my skill, my ability is what makes me rich. There's the bechira free choice. By the same token, a person can go out and say, I'm going to live my life as I please. Or, I'm going to live my life as Hashem pleases. And I must have help. I must have strength. I'll pray to Hashem, I'll daven to Hashem for strength to help me overcome the Yetzer Hara. This is free choice. This Hashem gave the person the ability to choose, daven to Hashem or not daven to Hashem. So when a person comes to Hashem and says, Hashem svosai tiftach, or Hashem azrini, neged, asatan, atzveni the Yetzer Hara, save me from this Yetzer Hara, that's using his bechira, his free choice. And that he could do. He could summon assistance from heaven, because the Gemara says, this Yetzer Hara, this Satan, the same Malach, who has Satan, who is Hara Malach, this Yetzer Hara is so powerful, don't ever imagine that you could overcome this Satan, this Yetzer Hara. A person says, I had a test for that, I beat this Satan, I beat the Yetzer Hara, I was able to overcome it, I was tempted and I broke it. Don't think that you broke it, because if the Satan really wanted to, there's no way that a person could defeat the Satan. The Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva too was shown this lesson. Rabbi also said this hint there. You know, they too were tested. They really failed in this Satan. Said, I'll let you go because I have a command not to touch you. Otherwise, I can show you that the Satan is a malach, eish, malach shel eish. There's a Yamnu Chassidut not bisrat the ant eish, and the Satan can overcome anyone. Even Ulei Hakadosh Baruch Hu or Israel, Gemara Kedusha says that if not the fact that Hashem helps a person, then the person would have no chance, using all his strength and all his willpower, he'd never have a chance to overcome his suffering. So he must summon the assistance from heaven. And that's the tefillah. Tefillah is, Hashem, help me, save me from the Yetzer Hara, from taivas noise, save me from all evil. And therefore, too, we say, Hashem, Sefasai Tiftach. Hashem, give me words, give me proper feeling, arouse my heart to daven to you with true kavanah. Because I want to break, destroy the powers, the gezeres, the gemudas b'shamayim. Yitmamtik, the din of the shamayim. And this is what Hashem enjoys. Hashem has the gemudas and dinim, the harshness that Hashem sends down to the world. The kaviyachol, a person davens to Hashem and forces Hashem's hand, and he is menatzayach Hashem. He literally defeats Hashem in battle. He's going into a battle against Hashem. This is actually a mechama, kaviyachol. And when a person davens so back when he sinned this gezerah, call back what is the gezerah? The koyach halikus, the heavenly power of the Zohar, the Satan. Call him back, recall his power. It means he has actually defeated Hashem in this battle. The Arizal says, what does the Menachem mean? Zamru lami shemenatzchin oisei misameach. Give praise, daven to Hashem. Hashem is He who, when He is defeated, He is happy. You're defeating Hashem. You win over Hashem. You are mahapech, Avidas Adil, Avidas Achased. This is me. Mamish satisfies Hashem, makes Hashem, gives Hashem a certain feeling of satisfaction and simcha. The Arizal says that the greatest simcha possible, Mashamayim, more than any simcha since the Bria So'ilam ad Achshav, beginning of creation until now, the greatest simcha and satisfaction that is possible to give, Kavayachol, to Hashem, is one of those Isa mi Torah Tefillah. He converts Torah to Tefillah, meaning he learns a certain section of Torah, posek, a Gemara, that deals with a certain type of din, a certain halacha, a certain mufsa, any part of Torah. He absorbs this Torah very carefully, very deeply. And he goes and he's inspired by Hashem. Hashem, I just learned this halacha. Help me to be Mekayim this halacha. I learned about Kriya Shema. I learned about Tefillah B'tzibur. Save me from ever davening the Yechidas when they're getting up late. This is the biggest nachas ruach to heaven. This is what the Arizal says. Make from Torah Tefillah. You learn and then immediately combine these two Torah and Tefillah, because this is called the highest of the Yichudim. The Kabbalah is the Yichud of Zaynapin and the Nukva Yena. But this is the biggest nachas ruach possible to Hashem. And that's why every time we learn something, we should always have kavanah, not just to learn it. Don't learn the last, it's the kayim. We should be certain that we kayim this true kavanah, and to have zechad about tefillah answered. That's Hashem. Don't forget tonight the shiur to you. Person davens, what the Shneerson right now, person davens Shneerson, which means he is standing in the top level of the tefillah. He's at the highest level, the heavens. He's entered to the throne room of Hashem, standing before Hashem. He must at least resemble a malach, an angel, rather than a human. Since angels have only, or it seems as though they have only 1 foot, both feet are together, if I go in regular Yeshara, so therefore, too, a person must keep both feet together. Yerushalmi is another reason, just like the Aharon, must keep both feet together. But you must have both feet together. They're not supposed to ever move them apart, no matter what. If, for example, if he realizes suddenly he's facing the wrong direction, he realizes that this is the other way, he's got to turn in the middle of Shemesrei, so he should turn, he should pivot on his feet without moving feet apart, just swing around, keep both feet together. Also, that's one item, his head should be slightly inclined. Above all, his eyes should be closed. If he's davening without a sitter. If he's davening with a sitter, his eyes should look into the sitter only. At no time should his eyes be permitted to look out of the sitter, or without a sitter to have them open. The Gemara says that when it's not a light item, it's a very serious item. The person is zocha, when he's nostalgic, the person does not see the Shekhinah while he's alive. No person can see the Shekhinah while he's alive. But then, after he dies, he's zocha to see the Shekhinah. The person has his eyes open during Shemesrei, open means not in the sitter, then he cannot see the Shekhinah. Because the Malach comes and strikes his eyes. Because Hashem strikes the Neshama's eyes blind. That's the penalty for looking out from, again, with the same thing that you have your eyes closed, your eyes in the sitter. Looking away, opening your eyes to Shemesrei. Many times there is a sort of distraction there's a noise, something falls, something happens, the person is very tempted. Open his eyes. Like that can be an accident, of course. It does happen. Accidents in Shulchan. The person's got to open his eyes, he's got to even move. But aside from that, there are other things that are just curiosity. There's an amazing, curious nature on the part of people. This is one of the amazing things that you can find. There's no reason, no gain, no benefit. It's purely the work of the Tikuney Zohar. You can be sitting in a room and doing the most superstition thing, being the most possibly absorbed in learning Torah, completely absorbed, or in davening. When the door opens up and someone walks in, really, it's a horror draws the person's eyes to the door to see who came in. What's so important about seeing who came inside? At best, the person came in late. So why have to look toward the door to see who came inside and distract yourself from whatever you're doing? Kedusha, yet this sometimes happens that it sounds like that, a case like that, a person does it in the middle of an instrument. That's a show that's that serious. So the Gemara says that the Malach Amalas is Maktim. The first act is to strike out the eyes of the person. He could not see the Shekhinah. That's a show, so that's why a person should, under no circumstances, look outside of the sitter. If he's nothing but a sitter, or if he isn't, open his eyes till he walks back 3 steps. Once he's outside of the realm of the throne room, then he can. Now, R Bavly illustrated there are different ways that he stand. Of course, the different positions, holding the hands in certain places. The Gemara brings that how you combine the hands, hold the hands together, the right hand over the left, just take the strength of the chesed, the right of the chesed, the left is gula, close to the heart. So we'll do that. The Gemara doesn't really make that much difference. Of course, it's good to do it's right, but the ikar is the chavruta, not the action. The ikar is to see that he stands, the person stands like this, with the head slightly inclined, like a poor man stands by the door of a rich man's home, begging, hoping for something to be given to him. That's how we stand before Hashem, pleading, begging, hoping that will be granted. That's the kindness of Hashem. What something about he should take be mentioning the words in his mouth with kavanah, with extreme caution, to see that they are said with the right grammar too. If he cannot say it with the right grammar, but he means well, then Hashem accepts his broken grammar, his distorted words, with the same ahava. Hashem accepts the clearest professional Hebrew professor who pronounces every single syllable with precision. Is not accepted to be better by Hashem than a person who knows nothing and breaks up every syllable, mispronounces it, and so on, as long as the sincerity of the heart is there. So Hashem is not impressed by professors, that's for sure. So each person should daven whatever nusach is his. We'll discuss the nusach later on. We should preserve it to really daven with true kavanah, recognition before whom we stand. We have to have our tefillos accepted of us. In fact, throughout the entire davening, there are different nuschos. The nusach Sfard, nusach Ashkenaz. This is not speaking about the Sfaradim, the Ashkenazim. We're speaking about the nusach Sfard and Ashkenaz among the normal Jews. You have 2 kinds, and then there are other nuschos, like this Sfaradim, for example, and so on. There are many other kinds of nuschos. In this case, these cases, the Din says, and I'm not saying that every person should follow his own nusach. Whatever nusach is part of davening, that's what he should daven into. Because there are 12 windows, gates in heaven, 12 gates of tefillah, the tefillahs that connect to heaven, each have to go through a certain gate. So each tefillah that comes from a certain person is addressed towards a certain type of gate. But it requires a special kind of tefillah to fit through that gate. The person who is of one type of Jew, davens a different kind of a nusach, his tefillah won't fit through, won't go through. He has to be careful to daven his own nusach. These 12 nuschos refer to the 12 shvatim. Every Jew comes from a different shevet. Therefore, he has to, each shevet goes with his own flag, his own position. You can't desert your shevet and go to a different shevet. You have to stay in that shevet itself. If these are the shiftei kor, of course there are much deeper items involved. At least as far as we're told, we must stay within our own ranks. You must belong to your ranks, and that's where you belong. And corresponding to this, you have the 12 gates in heaven for these two. The person does not know which shevet he's from. The person could know by the way he was brought up. He knows his father and forefathers all had one type of tefillah. That's where he's from. The person does not know, or we come out to a very controversial statement, a statement which people will give blood for. If you go to the Gallon Club and give blood because of this. The question about is there one nusach that is kiruv the others? In other words, no matter what you're from, you're safe with this nusach. It is brought that the nusach Sfard, there is a nusach kiruv. There are some who say the nusach Arizal, the nusach kiruv. There are two. We say there is one, especially there is blood about this, because each one will claim mine is kiruv, mine is the best. Of course, each one says that this is the best of its best quality, best type, so on. Anyway, we cannot discuss this controversy because it's useless to go into battle over this. You never can win out this battle. Each one is adamant, stubborn, holds his own. So we won't discuss the controversy, we'll just speak the truth. The fact that the nusach Sfard is the one that's kiruv. That is under an illusion. Let's see, not nusach Sfard is the one that's kiruv all. Because nusach Sfard and nusach Sfard are very close enough to be considered one. The difference, basically, there's a very big difference throughout. But the Zohar Kodesh shows clearly, distinctly, the proof that nusach Sfard. So we don't go into this controversy, but still, you see throughout the points, for example, the Kabbalah, how it has to be 8 times the word emes after the Kriya Shema. You have got that nusach Ashkenaz, how it has to be, how it must be keser for the kedusha of Musaf and Shabbos. And these Ashkenazim say, how it must be ahavas elam before Kriya Shema. All those things that must be. There's no way to otherwise. Of course, the question is, if that's the case, if it must be this and it must be that, so let us say if this is truly the nusach HaKollel, what about those who are for the other shevet, nusach Ashkenaz? Must they be this on the side of the wrong side of the fence? Why don't they all unite, join together, one flag of Slag, flag of Sefer Achas V'Kulam. Mashiach comes to have one single language, just Mashiach alone, unite them all. Yeshua says, no question, Mashiach comes to all have one. And as they say, the difference in Kaddish too, between Sfard and Ashkenaz, the basic difference in Kaddish is that the Sfardim say, the Omudi Menachus Menachusay, Yatzmach Perikudei Nikolei Meshichai. Yatzmach Perikudei Nikolei Meshichai. Let the redemption come, the Gula come, and Mashiach should come. Ashkenaz Shul, if you say that, they will sacrifice you at the altar at the Bima, behead you, send out the slices to the 12 different sections. That's how against they are. He's there to mention these words of Yasser becoming part of Mashiach. Of course, what's so bad about these words, if you've ever had experience to see this in Ashkenaz Shul, just the thought of those words is what horrifies them. What's so horrifying about saying Mashiach should come? Well, what's so bad? So no matter what you are, you're Chinese, be Jewish. What's the difference? You have to be Sfard to like Mashiach. And the claim is that Mashiach comes as an approval who's right, which Kaddish is right. They skip that, we say it. Mashiach comes, they say, Mashiach will prove that they are right. Because when Mashiach comes, he will say, don't say, he will tell them to say, because he's here, don't say, oh, Mashiach, but Mashiach comes here already. Because we don't want to say that, which will prove it, that even that the schos are all carefully, the letters, the words are carefully counted. Each single word stands for a different sign, a different secret, a different item in heaven. You're not supposed to add or subtract one single word. You must stick to the script exactly. And that's why you have to get a siddur which is not misleading. True Sfard siddur, not one that messes things up and does worse than anything else. With a regular Ashkenaz siddur, at least you know you're going in the right, a straight, true path of Ashkenaz. When one person siddur that mixes both together, it's definitely wrong either way. You lose on both sides. It's like a person who becomes bald, front and back. At least he has a patch in the back of the hair, patch in the front. Here it's bald on both sides. What's the gain? He destroys both the Sfard and the Ashkenaz. He has nothing left. So this is a case where one who is wise carefully studies the siddur, make sure that he has the correct words. We've gone through these words before. And we should, again, each one should get his own siddur, his oaths. You mark off exact words, and then, after all, you can use any siddur because you learn by heart the exact words you're supposed to say. This is one of the ikkimus of daven, see what the tefillah is proper, whether the words are proper, with the right kavana. First, the mizrach to have the tefillah accepted. Which is supposed to daven the tefillah daven silently. The right kavana, which is to have the tefillah accepted, the rachamim. Probably called Menachem as we said, briefly, person was that chavruta, concentrate in front of whom he's standing, whom he is davening, think of the translation of the words. He doesn't know the translation of the words, at least he should be happen, and Hashem should take these words that he's saying, Hashem knows the translation, Hashem should accept them with satisfaction. But he should not, he must not let his mind wander from the fact that he's standing before Hashem. We keep his feet together. He said this is imperative not to separate the feet while you're davening. This is in order to be like Halacha, we say we'll have one foot. The Gemara says that while studying Shemon Esrei, you're not allowed to move or talk out. So if somebody happens to the person is standing and somebody wants to push him aside for some reason, the Shemon Esrei cannot move, he can't budge. If something is happening, he can't walk out of his place unless it's an emergency to save somebody's life. I recall years back when I was in the Secretary of Das, about around the age of 13 or 14, when I was studying Shemon Esrei, and I'd be reading in a class, studying in class at that time. Well, today is that time he's reading in that class. Today he's the Rosh Yeshiva of the entire Torah Das, and Spring Valley, shore speaker. So this question was, I remember one boy somehow so made him just fainted. Apparently he was a sickly boy. Everyone standing there, you're not supposed to open your eyes, but this sound, like falling, open their eyes. The Yerushalmi was so good, the boys stood good at their spot, they didn't know what to do. Run over or not, you finish Shemon Esrei. And when it's good, you have a Rebbe who shows you shibush, not that he tells you, but you see what he does, you know it's right. And he ran over to him to help him. When he released us, we knew that we could all do something. We couldn't talk, but at least we could move. We knew that in a case like that, it was definitely an emergency, because you didn't know what happened to the boy. So it was permissible to move out. But it's something that remains in your mind. Notice this is quite a bit back. You forget things that happened, say, 10 years ago. here stays 10 years ago, the last 25 years ago. Maybe 39. Right now we've inherited another 30 years. He's not here anymore. So, therefore, the rule that you must have your feet together under all circumstances except in extreme emergency. And the Gemara says, what about an emergency like this? Davening, looking at the stairs, you can see to the perimeter, outside perimeter, outside you can see a snake slithering along. And this is a rattlesnake, a poisonous one. You recognize these snakes because you're a connoisseur of snakes. Next on it. You're a snakeologist. The snake comes along, and somehow he's headed right for you. This sort of drawn to you. Figure, what does he want? He comes close to you, and then he starts winding himself around your foot, like so. Now, could you move then? Or when you see he's getting too close, could you move? Of course, to run. When the snake is coming at you, you run. There's very little defense, very little chance of outrunning a snake. It's the speed of a snake. A snake hopping of a snake. Because sometimes as fast as a horse can run. So, but of course you get outmaneuver. Let's say you try to escape. The Gemara speaks about how to escape, flee from the snake. What methods to use? In this case, though, the problem is flee. Should you try to flee, in the middle of this, you got to keep your feet together. You can't start hopping away from the snake with both feet together. The Gemara says if a snake comes at you, he starts winding himself around, and you see his fangs coming out, popping out at you as he keeps coming up along the side of your leg. Stand your ground, because this is a poisonous snake. You see his poisonous fangs coming out. This is not enough reason to walk away in English from that snake. There's enough. This is the Gemara. The Zayni Kodesh adds, note the Gemara says that in case of a snake, you're not supposed to walk away. You're not supposed to budge. Stay right where you are. Let the snake enjoy himself. Don't move. But in case it's a scorpion, well, the scorpion is a lead type. The scorpion don't take chances. The scorpion is worse than the snake. The Vedic Kodesh says what's the difference between a snake and a scorpion? This doesn't take a snake expert. The difference is we speak about what a snake is. Snake, a person's a snake, he's either good or he isn't compared to a snake. So a snake itself couldn't be good either. But a scorpion is one that's more than not good. It's a real vicious meanness. So the Kodesh says, what's the difference? The difference is that the snake is male and the scorpion is female. You want to find, where do you find that Venus? Look for Spike. You'll see that scorpion fight. In the female you'll find a much greater vengeance, desire for vengeance than the male. That's why in the case of a scorpion, you are allowed to move your ground, walk away. That's, even have to walk away. Don't start with these female snakes. That's keeping your feet together, that was imperative. Of course, speaking is out of the question. There's one finish that will end with. This finish is that you are allowed, you're not allowed to move your feet, snake or anything. But if, let's say, you come to a point, middle of semester, and you remind yourself, you say, oh, dummy, that is a shchedish, yabba. That's one thing. Second dummy is that you say if you have to have a sitter with you. You don't know. Third dummy, you don't know by heart. Dummy, how can you not know all of them by heart? How is that possible? So, or let's say it's Hanukkah, or Nisan. Don't know Hanukkah by heart, or Nisan, that's 20 years. Purim, really, you have an excuse. It's Purim, you forget to get a sitter, and Purim, it's hard to know by heart because it's one day a year. Excuses, but the point is it's still dummy. Dummy forgot to take a sitter, and he's left the middle of Shnesset without a sitter. What do you do? Din says, in this case, it is permissible to walk to the bookcase and to take a sitter, to walk back, and continue to daven. Not only that, the bigger finish. Let's say that you are to parlay your wisdom into a combination of stupidity and ignorance. How? Person learned the dinner and he forgot. What happens if you're saying Shmoneh Esrei and you're supposed to be over